welcome to the show. It's episode 175. It's Friday the 11th of August. Where's the year going? It'll soon be Christmas. Welcome one and all. I hope you've had a fantastic weekend, or week even. Last weekend was good, but I hope you've had a good week as well. It's been getting sunnier and hotter here in the UK. It's currently about 23 degrees here, which for us is pretty toasty. So, if you start to see a glistening brow, that's why. I've got my little, I think you can't really see, it like kicks out a little mist, little icy mist, but it doesn't really reach over here. And if I turn it up too much, it's too loud. So we'll soldier on and through the heat for a few days, and then it'll just be back to miserable rainy winter type stuff again. It's just going to be two of us today because unfortunately Ben has had some very sad personal news and won't be on the show today. And Kenty Boy, who was seemingly on the mend, has taken a turn back again for the worse and is currently stationary in the room, although he feels like it's spinning around him, and that's inducing some vertical upward movement from this region to this region. If you know what I mean, I shall refrain from... so some people don't like that. Anyway, so it's just going to be me and Andrew, who I'll bring on in just a moment. And before we do that, let's, of course, get all the housekeeping out of the way. Of course, please do like, comment, subscribe, and share, because that's what it's all about, apparently. It's what all the kids get all excited about. Oh, look, I've got 100 likes on this. So please do smash that thumbs up button or the thumbs down if you don't like us. Either or. There's one person every week, one person who doesn't like our stuff. I'm pretty sure it's the same person. I have an idea who it might be, but they always hit the plus, the down button. But yeah, there you go. Never mind. At least it's only one. If you have anything you want to say and contribute to the show, because we are doing this live, and so therefore we like to involve our audience, you can do so in the YouTube chat. You can do so in the Twitch chat. You can do so in the Facebook chat. You can't do it on Twitter though. Even though we're broadcasting to all four of those platforms, only the first three will take your chats. There's no kind of cross-posting between those. So if you're posting on YouTube, or somebody posted on YouTube and you're watching on Twitch, you can't see their comments. So unless, of course, you've got all the windows open, and that would just be weird. But so that you can do that. If you're watching on catch-up, first of all, thank you for coming back to see us. And of course, you can comment below in the regular comment section, which many of you do, and we love your comments. All of them, so thank you for that. You can also subscribe to the channel to make sure you don't miss any shows, and of course, if you know anybody that would like to watch this show, you can hit the share button and see what they think. If you want to make a donation, you can. We don't. It's not obligatory, but it just helps keep the channel running. There's our PayPal link. It's in the description below on the video, or you can use YouTube, Super Chat, Super Stickers, that kind of thing as well. If you want to follow us across all of those social media channels, we are across Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, all the same handle, at ProSynth Network. And if you want to make a comment during the show and ask a question about something, just put a big capital Q in front of it. It just helps us pick out those and put them into the right column so that we can bring those into the show as and when. Right, housekeeping done. Boring stuff out of the way. Welcome to everybody that's in the chat. I'm seeing lots of familiar names flying by. I shan't mention you all because I'd be here all night, but I will mention, first of all, our wonderful moderators, who I think deserve a round of applause. Our wonderful moderators. Let's get the sound effects working, please. No, are you not going to do it? Oh, no, hang on. There you go. So, this bit here, pro, doesn't stand for professional. Don't get under any illusions that we are in any way professional. Thank you to Andrew Brooks, to Andy Synth Addict, and to Ben from Musines. I do believe that's all three of them. We've only got three. Those lovely gentlemen do a fantastic job in the chat. They lurk around and make sure that everybody behaves themselves, which you all do. They've never had to kick anybody out, I don't think. Also, they post up links into the chat when we're talking about stuff. If you want to go off and have a look at that, you can click on the links in the chat. They do all of that stuff for us as well. The next bunch of people I want to mention, thank you very much to Jason Crouch, money for the meter so we can start. Yes, I know we were a couple of minutes late, but I was trying to deal with absenteeism and all that kind of stuff. But thank you, Jason. Much appreciated. Andrew Brooks, one of our very own moderators. We never beg. We just request. No, we just put it out. But thank you for your regular £5 donation. You work for us, but we should be paying you. No, I don't know. And of course, to our lovely, lovely friend down in Australia. That's a horrible accent. My accent, not the Australian accent. The Australian accent is lovely, but my interpretation of it is rather awful. Thank you, Stephen, for your $50 Australian, or AS, as we like to call it here. Thank you very much indeed for those. Let's just clear those out of the queue so we don't go and do those again. So there we go. Right, it leaves me with just one remaining job, and that is to bring in our newest member of the team, shall we say. We can't get rid of him, so we just thought we'd leave him here, and he's there every week, stinking up the joint. It's Andrew Longhurst.
Stinking up
the joint.
Did I really hear you just thank Stephen for his Australian arse?
For his ass, yeah.
Right, for his ass. His ass, not his arse.
His arse, no. I don't know, how do they say it in Australia? Get off your ass, arse. No, I don't know.
No idea.
No
idea. Oh, do they speak like that? See, I don't know. Caught up and see, they could be from the valleys.
Anyway, how are you?
I'm good. I've been talking to the Penguin of Death. He looks
very Hasidic. He looks like one of those with the long curly hair.
Yes, he does, doesn't he? But actually, there he is. You see.
He's just taken his. Oh, that's the bag handle. I thought it was his braces.
There we go.
Oh, it could be both.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I was just talking to him and see whether or not he's been visiting anywhere near Kent. And no, he hasn't. So
good.
I hope he gets well soon.
I'm sure he will. He did say he would try and pop in between vomitus. So we'll see. But yeah. Roz says in the chat, has the Penguin of Doom become a rabbi? That's very good.
Well, the Penguin of Doom may have done, but the Penguin of Death hasn't.
Oh, okay. Yes, Death Doom. Yeah, same neighbourhood.
He has actually, though, been ordained in every major religion. That's the thing. Yeah.
And some minor ones too, I hear.
Most of the minor ones, actually. Anything to do with digging in the dirt and down dark, deep, low. I'm going to shut up now.
Okay, all right then. Busy week.
It has been a busy week. Yeah. We've had a very, very, very busy week, continuing from last week. Lots of stuff, but made some really good progress. I managed to get an edit done that I've been... sometimes you just have a project where you can't quite work out what the end is. You're almost there and you notice a little something. It's bitty things. And suddenly it's all done. So I'm very pleased with that. We've been making some progress on the mill and on purchasing the mill as a community thing, and doing stuff for us being able to bring people through and mentor them, and lots of musically things. So yeah, it's been a good week, but very busy.
Good. Well, that's always good. So people in the chat say, could you give yourself a bit of a boost on the mic, just a little
on
bit?
The mic? Okay, let's just try
a little bit of extra volume.
Does that make any difference?
Well, we'll see.
We'll find out.
They're very rapid in their complaining, I'm sure we'll hear. Thank you for joining us,
You're very
as
welcome.
Always. And I'm not going to put that up on the screen, Roz. I don't really want to know if the Penguin of Doom is qualified to perform certain acts that a rabbi might perform. There you go. Yes, apparently you. Ooh, just makes me wince. Apparently your volume boost has gone down well, so that's good.
Jolly good. If not the Penguin of Death's. Yes, he's very circumspect.
Oh. Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about some synthesizer news, shall we?
Yeah, let's do that. There's a lot.
There is a bit around this week. Again, it's starting to pick up a little bit. I'm going to propose that we talk about this thing first, get it out of the way, then we don't have to worry about it anymore. Okay, because after last week, it got a little testy. But we are, we report on the news, and the news is that there has been a new kid on the block released literally just before we came on air, and it's something that has been in the ether for a while. Why don't we have a quick look at the beginning of the promo video, because the promo video is about 10 minutes long, but let's have a quick look at this. Hello. Wrong video. No, it's not. It is the right one.
Three, and two, and one, and action.
That intro was really weird. Is that going to be in the video?
Yeah, just keep going.
Introducing the Behringer JT-4000 Micro. Well, not too sure what that was about.
No, and we'll leave it there, shall we? This is the news that Roland have finally brought to market the another one of their tiny little desktop things. This is even smaller than the Pro VS Mini that we saw last week. This is the JT-4000 Micro, not Mini, Micro. It was originally billed as the JP-4000, but I'm guessing some lawyery stuff happened in the background in between when it was first announced and when it came out. But this is essentially a 4-voice approximation of the Roland JP-8000, which came out around, when was that? Late 90s, I think? 98, 99, I can't remember now. I actually went to the product launch of that one. That's how memorable it was. And it seemed nice. there was a spate, wasn't there, of these virtual analog things. There was the Yamaha AM1X, and there was this, and I think before that there was, of course, the Prophecy, and then, of course, the Z1. So everyone was kind of getting in on the whole analog modelling thing, which we take so much for granted these days. But it was one of those things, and
this was one. The JP-8000 was one that did gain a lot of traction, was used by a lot of people.
It was big for the super saws, wasn't it?
It really was. And then Novation did their thing with super saws, and all that kind of stuff. But it was probably the most widely adopted, and now it sounds
spawned
a bit,
desktop version as well, didn't it? Or a rack mounted version.
Well, and I know lots of people that got into creating sound banks and sound, getting into soundtracks and all sorts of things using the JP-8000. So it was a very, at the time, versatile thing.
Yes, and I'd say it did have a fairly, well, I wouldn't say niche market, but it did appeal to a certain subset of electronic dance music at the time. So this unit, and let's bring it up onto the screen so we're going to have a closer look at it. It is dinky. It's kind of a little bit bigger than maybe the old audio cassettes. It's kind of almost iPhone size in a way, certainly in its footprint. It has this kind of little, shoe profile. I don't know what we want to call this new design. This little uplift at the back there. There's not a lot to dabble with. I was just looking earlier to see if there was like a software editor, but there isn't. Not yet anyway. You've got a volume control. You've got filter cutoff and resonance. Apparently there's an analog filter in there. There's an arpeggiator. It's got space for 32 presets. There's an LFO. Is 2 oscillator per voice. It's a 4-voice synthesizer with 4-voice analog modeling synthesizer with 2 oscillators per voice. It's paraphonic, not polyphonic. And that's pretty much it. Oh, it's got a 2-operator FM engine in there as well, which is interesting. I'm not sure if that was in the original spec. I can't remember. Powered by USB-C, as you can see on the top there, with a little headphone socket on the other side there. That's about all you get. It's 74 quid, 85 euros, which is I think they were trying to hit the £65 price point or around that. So it's just a little bit more than they said. But this is literally a pocket synth that packs a reasonable punch. I mean, it's it's got a ready-made audience. This thing, hasn't it?
It has. I'm just wondering. So when you say paraphonic, it's using one set of envelopes, triggers, etc.
Single articulation. For everything.
So okay, and it's 70 something quid. Yeah, I mean, I'm not that taken with the sound, but it's 74 quid, and it's
exactly
four voices.
Yeah, Ring Modern PWM as well, apparently. So
Wow.
somebody's just said in there. Yeah, I mean they've crammed a lot in there, but it is it's just
Is it multi-timbral?
quid.
Do we know?
No, it's not. It's
Okay.
just no. But then
So it's like
it's
a cross
74
between it's a JP-4000 cross with a Poly 800
kind of thing. Yeah.
It's that kind of Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, for what it is, I'll be interested to see. That video that we showed. That video, what you did see, is available on the Behringer channel. It's about 10 minute long. Excuse the barking dogs outside. It's about 10 minutes long, so they take you through, a whole bunch of stuff. I haven't had a chance to sit down and go through it because I've been quite busy. Shut up.
Yeah, but it's the acting in that video that I most adored. The acting was beyond reproach.
Yeah, I forget the guy's name now. Can't remember his name, but he is my favourite Behringer video person because apart from Anna, who was dead cute, but we don't. I don't think Anna's there anymore because I haven't seen her for years. Either that or she's been sent down to the mines for upsetting Uli or something. But Dan obviously is Dan with his hair is currently out on tour with Howard Jones. So this guy's been brought back, I think, because he disappeared for a while. But he's back and he is he's doing a fairly good job, and I like the slight comedic value that they put in there. It's entertaining. But anyway, the synth itself is available now. You can buy this from I say it's available now. It is shipping to retailers. You can pre-order it now, and then it will arrive. I think they're looking at September-ish time. Interesting stuff.
Interesting stuff.
No mention again, because I did wonder of this with the Pro VS Mini, but I don't think it has it, and I don't think this has it either. Poly chaining, that would have been nice if you could have just poly chained these and then got your 8 voice, and then you really would be sort of in.
But I guess
JP-8000
at the price, probably not that surprising. Yeah. I can't see me ever wanting one of these or buying one of these, but if it had chaining, it would make sense. But then if it's paraphonic, does it? At that point, does it make any sense? Yeah.
So this one actually surprised me because I am fortunate enough to get kind of advance notice of a lot of things given the jobs that I do. This one was supposed to be next week, according to the thing that I was sent, and something else was supposed to be today. That's now going to be next week. So I can tell you now, if you want to see something else new, come and join us next week.
Next week.
Come and see us next week because we'll be talking about something else. And that one's kind of interesting. But there is something else before we move off the subject. Let me just let me get this off of my figure. Get rid of that. Yep. No. And so Behringer on their Facebook page, which of course is where they do all of their communications to the outside world, teased this earlier this week, and that is their version of the Simmons SDS3, which looks incredibly like, obviously it's a slightly different form factor, but the color schemes and everything is pretty much identical on this one. So the SDS3 was, I think, that was the first thing that Dave Simmons produced, and is a purely analog drum machine with a very unique tone. So it'd be nice to see if they get close to that. It shouldn't be too difficult. It comes in Behringer's kind of very standard tabletop module, which can also have some rack-mounted ears put on there, so you can stick it into a rack, or apparently you can put them into Euro rack as well. That's the rear of the unit there. So you've got MIDI in on the front, you've got MIDI out on the back, you've got USB. There's decay kill, pitch pedal, and an audio output, single jack. So I'm imagining that's all mono. No price, no availability date, but this is a prototype that they're working on, so interesting to see. We spoke about Simmons drums last week because we were talking about Ali James's labs SDS3 software recreation. Any experience with this one, Andrew?
Not. I seem to remember a few people bringing them into the studio from, everyone wanted the 5, but then the 3 was okay. It was always the hardware, the pads, rather than the brain that always just
right.
But putting that to one side, do you know what? For once, I think it's not a bad thing. I've not heard it. I'd like to hear it. Can we see if that? Did you notice if the sockets, the jacks, are actually 1/8 or 1/4 inch on
they're
the
8.
on the?
They're 6.4 mil, whatever it is.
That's that kind of
you're talking on the back or the top?
on the top.
Oh, the top. They're 3.5 mil, I believe, because I think that's what they tend to do.
And if you're using something like
yeah.
this, and you've got your drums and God knows, you want to plug stuff in, that's not the best. That is the noisiest, most prone to breaking interface.
I imagine that most people that will be using this won't necessarily be using it with e-drums. Some will, I'm sure. Alex Ball has actually got a genuine SDS3 and has done some really good videos. If you want to know what this thing sounds like, go and have a listen to Alex Ball's video. He uses it. I think he's done the feature on it, and he uses it across a whole bunch of his videos. It's a very characterful. Is that a word? Characterful, yeah.
Yeah, characterful.
Yeah. It's a very characterful machine. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. They also teased their take on the Mutator.
Yeah, no, that's something else that's looking... Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't get any pictures of that, but that was... They did this thing, didn't they, on their Facebook page? They said, what would you think? We've been asked if we can do one of these, and then like a week later, somebody's mocked it up. So, it's the reason I'm not really sort of talking about it at the moment is we don't really know, because they don't know. This is the Behringer game. They tease things, and as you see with the JT-4000, that was originally teased in March of 2022. And here we are in August of 2023, and it's just come out. So,
what I'm wondering about the JT-4000, it's paraphonic. It's 4 voices, so it sounds like it's a single chip. Sounds like it's a single chip on a board sort of device, which means they can do all sorts of different things with it, or pretty much a single chip. That's kind of interesting. But I wonder where they're going to go with that, because that gives them, if that's what they've been working on.
Well, they did. I'm trying to remember what else they teased. There was the Provius Mini. There was the JT-4000. There was a couple of other things, I'm sure, in that very small, like pocket-sized platform. So if they've kind of ended up with a platform where all you need to do is just load a new bit of firmware on there, it's the same hardware. That could be an interesting product line for them. And it's a great way, it is an incredibly affordable way to get some really nice, analog-y...
Great way to generate, great way to generate some Spondulics for them as well.
Exactly. So,
which is, but it's a funny thing is I was looking at the chat around this, and despite our moral reservations and high ground and whatever else, and we do have them, there is a huge number. There are a huge number of people who love them for it and who will go out and buy this. They've made it affordable.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that they photocopy everyone else's everything else is neither here nor there, I suppose.
They don't need to do that. I'm not going to have this conversation, but they don't need to do that. They make reasonably good stuff, and I just think, well, why do you have to really kind of push that thing? Like, it amplifies, us talking about them. So we're trying to avoid all that kind of stuff and just talk about the products themselves. And
so the SDS3, I'd like to try it.
I'd like to try that. I would like to try.
I'd like to get it in and play around with it. Yeah.
And again, it's another brand that doesn't. Well, actually, it doesn't technically exist. Hasn't technically existed for many years. Although I'm trying to think which retailer it was in the US. Was it Guitar Center or was it Sweetwater that bought the brand and started basically sticking on reasonably kind of cheap Chinese-made E-drums, but with the Simmons brand on there. Yeah, so that's
got so smart.
Yes. Well, I mean, the thing is, if the brand has been sold off, or you used to see it all the time in the like home electrical world, particularly in TVs and things like JVC was a brand that eventually it flopped many years ago, sort of in late 90s, early noughties, and the brand got bought up by a Chinese company, and they just started to produce TVs, all with all the JVC branding on, and most consumers were probably none the wiser. But it wasn't JVC. This was just it's got the name on it. So it's like Bush and Goodman's many when you were a lad, were incredibly
bloody hell, that long ago. We were still banging rocks together.
But they were top line British audio brands, and then they would go out of business, and a guy buys up the brand. And I know this story for a fact because I used to work for Argos, who now actually own those brands, and they just bought the brand and just got cheap stuff made in the Far East, stuck the brand on it, and of course your grandmother, I remember Goodman's and Bush, yes, I'll buy one of those.
Fidelity,
Fidelity, and that's
my
another
Ferguson.
One. Yeah, Ferguson.
Where's my Ferguson?
Do you know here's a funny story. In the 80s when the only people in the UK, there might have been some equivalent stories in the US, but there was a big electrical retailer in the UK at the time called Dixon's and Curry's. They eventually became one group, and then they eventually went out of business. I think now Curry's are still going, but anyway. They, in the 80s, because Japanese technology was just like everybody wanted Japanese, everybody wanted Sony, Toshiba, JVC, all this kind of stuff, they decided to bring out their own brands, and they called their brands like Sansui. But they weren't anything to do with, a lot of them were actually made in Britain at the time, but they stuck the Japanese name on because that's what everybody wanted. Saisho and... Crown was another one, which didn't sound very Japanese.
I remember back in the 80s when I started doing music for film broadcasts, documentaries and that kind of stuff, and I couldn't afford a U-matic at the time, and it just so happens that another company store called, I think it was Radio Rentals.
Oh yeah, Radio Rentals.
Everyone rented VHS from Radio Rentals, and the top of the range thing they had was called the Ferguson Video Star.
Yep,
it was a VHS recorder, but it had four audio tracks on it, 2 of which were PCM and 2 of which were fairly shitty analog. But guess what? The shitty analog ones would hold time code. So as long as you could put time code on those, and you had the main audio on the first 2, you could actually use the Ferguson Video Star to run to sync lock to picture.
Yeah.
So you could run all of your MIDI and everything else from that using I used Uniter or whatever else. It worked brilliantly.
Yeah.
It worked brilliantly. So they made me an awful lot of money at the time. One of these cheap little... Well, it wasn't that cheap, but it was a good thing. Anyway.
My first stereo radio cassette recorder, which is the politically correct name you give for these things, was a Ferguson. And I actually recorded my first demo on that, and it was me singing to something or other. I can't remember. I was very young, and it must have been sort of like 79, I think it was. And I remember I bought Adam and the Ants' first debut album, Dirt Wears White Socks, and that was released on Do It Records, which was Robin Scott's label. And they actually put their... Because it was an indie, they'd got their address on the back of the sleeve. So the thing came with like a C15 cassette, just to get you going. So I did my demo on that, and I sent it to Do It Records. I'm still waiting for, because I met Rob in Scotland. We've become good friends, and I said to him, I said, "Did you ever get my demo tape?" And he just looked at me blankly, and I said, "Okay, maybe you didn't."
Yeah.
And then we laughed. Oh, how we laughed! So yeah. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's enough name dropping. Let us move on. So that's Behringer JT-4000. You can order that today. It's 74 of your British pounds, 85 of your European euros. I don't know what else, what other currencies, but you can go and work that out. It's easy to do this day.
And did you say it was Bush and Goodman? Bush and Goodman were interchangeable, essentially.
What?
You were talking about British brands.
British brands, yeah. Bush and Goodman's were two independent.
So should we be talking about Kate Goodman from now on?
Oh, very funny.
I just.
Move on. It's that's. I think that deserves one of these. No, we don't want that. We just want that. We're getting like none of the effects or all of the effects.
None of the effects, all the effects.
Yeah.
None, all. No, other way round. None, all. There we go.
There we go. Anyway, so let's move on. Behringer
Sorry, Matt.
JT-4000, available to order now, £74, 85 euros. Available to pre-order and shipping in about 6 weeks or something like that. Right, let's move on to something.
Lovely.
I've got mixed feelings about this.
Have you?
Let's play a promo video first. Let's let people have a listen to this. That was a proper foot tapper. That I've been liking the. I must say, I've been liking the videos. Before we go and talk about this, fresh from his bathroom, it's Mr. Kent Spong.
Oh, Ken, almost.
How you doing, mate? You didn't have to come along.
Unless
this takes your mind off it.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's not talk about it.
Okay.
That'd be a good move. Move.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I was going to say,
the
how you
rooms
feeling?
are stable.
Okay. Well, let's hope they stay.
So
that way.
yeah. Yeah. So
You have to disappear.
Here
Just
I am.
disappear. 'Cause
Okay.
we don't want that. Yeah.
Papa
Our
Smith.
ratings will. Our meager ratings will probably tank.
Increase.
Increase.
Or maybe increase.
Increase.
Yeah, because that's
Yeah.
kind of that's kind
Yeah.
of what people
Nobody
do.
wants to see anybody throw up in their face, do they? Let's
Yeah.
face it.
Oh, well.
So,
Not again.
can I make an observation at this point?
Yeah.
Yes.
I spent 80% of my life and a really considerable amount of money trying to get my equipment and my recordings to not sound like that. So I'm not on the trend. So don't bother asking me how good I think it is, because
Okay.
no.
All right.
I'm sort of like, it's a thing now. Why couldn't this be a thing 40 years ago when my studio used to sound like that?
I know.
Oh well, okay.
So
Trends.
this is the Sonicware Liven Lo-Fi 6. So before we talk about anything, I have to say, as it says there on the screen, this is an exclusive to Perfect Circuit in the United States. They are only selling 500 units of this, and you can only buy it through Perfect Circuit. There are no sales being made in Europe or anywhere else in the world. However, Perfect Circuit will ship anywhere in the world, of course, at a price. So this is where my mixed feelings start with this, because I love Sonicware. I think that's a pretty common fact. Everybody knows that I really like everything they do, and on the surface, I like this. I know it has this kind of sound that we've been trying to avoid for many decades, but it's nice. My problem with this is that it's an exclusive. If they'd done a limited color scheme, so it's a Lo-Fi 12, but in a different color scheme, fine, don't care about that. But if it's an actual product that I want to buy, and they make that very difficult for me to buy, then me and a bunch of other people on the internet, surprise surprise, are getting a little vocal about it. What they've done with this is they've taken the Lo-Fi 12, which was a 16-bit 12 kilohertz sampler to give you that that crunchiness. They've taken the 16-bit 12 kilohertz out and replaced it with 16-bit 6 kilohertz. Clues in the name, guys. So it's a 6 kilohertz, so obviously that makes it even crunchier. They've also added a tube effect, which does what tube effects do. Gives it a little bit of weight, but also crispens up the top ends, and apparently. So the blurb says.
What top ends?
Well, indeed, this is it. It's
I get it. I understand the appeal of this. But it's a case of I think we're old. We're old.
And the sounds that this makes is it's a very pleasing sound, but it's limited in its use. You don't sort of use this all the time.
Here's a thing: we are all getting on a little. And we know that our hearing suffers somewhat as you get older. I'm not sure I can hear much above 2K at the moment, so this is probably sparkling. I don't know. I'm equally conflicted because, do you know what? I love working in a constrained environment. There's something about working with, you don't have as much control. You don't have the super high fizzy top end, so you kind of work with it. And you create what you create within the parameters of what you have. I kind of like that. And I think as a consumer thing, it would be a good thing. But at $299 plus whatever shipping...
Yeah. So that's what it is. It's $299 to buy from Perfect Circuit, which in itself, if you're in the United States of America... that's a good price. The Livens tend to go for around sort of $260, $290. So that's a decent price. But as you say, if you want to buy one here in the UK or pretty much anywhere else in the world, and I can only speak from the UK's perspective when it comes to sales taxes and income or customs duties, they're bloody criminal is what they are. So I went to the Perfect Circuit website and put one in my basket, and then it said, where do you want it shipping to? So I put... United Kingdom, and I got two options. One was $63, the other was $70. And the difference was just a few days so the $70 one would have got here a couple of days quicker. So that of course then makes the unit $370, and then when that comes into the UK, because it's over the threshold of, was it 135 or 139,
susceptible to bastard tax.
Yes, you're susceptible to that, and so 20% VAT on top of that. Plus
that's another 74.
Exactly. Plus a customs duty as well, which I can't remember what the percentage is. Is it 5? It's still enough to make it.
It's getting close to $500.
Exactly. So it's just not worth it for me, because the Lo-Fi 12 is it's a nice thing. This just kind of takes it a little bit to the edge, and I'm just a little bit. I told them as much in a very polite way. I said, I'm a little disappointed that this is just going to kind of it's not going to make financial sense for me to try and get one of these. And there have been a lot of vocal comments, shall we say, some stronger than others about this. One was, surely this could have been added to the Lo-Fi 12 firmware. Unfortunately, I have checked and confirmed it cannot, because they had to take the 12 kilohertz stuff out. To put the 6 kilohertz stuff in, there's not a lot of room, so it had to come out, and the tube thing couldn't go in either. So it had to be a separate product. I don't know. Maybe at some point in the future they'll turn around and do a Lo-Fi 6, and they'll do it in a different color scheme, and just to keep the people that bought it at Perfect Circuit happy that they did get something that was limited. But
it looks. I mean, the other thing is, it's not my kind of style or look, but it looks quite cute. I can see that there might be a market for this. It looks like it works. It should work pretty much anywhere, and it's going to be a bit of fun.
Well,
in the States,
Chris Dodsworth. Chris Dodsworth, who we have on the show, that he freelances for Sonicware. He does a lot of their videos and handles kind of returns and things over here in the UK. Obviously, they sent him one because he's going to be making videos for it, and he does some film soundtrack work for generally small, very low budget movies, and apparently one that he's working on needed something playing in the background that sounded like it was on an old radio. Ta-da!
Yeah.
So it was absolutely, and so this will be a tool. I mean, I've got a little shelf down the side here where I've got all my little Livens and all my little tabletop desktop synths in there, and every now and again I'll pull one out and I'll put it on the desk and it'll do something for me, and that's exactly what this is. But I'm not going to pay like £500 for something I'm just going to pull off the shelf once a year just to do a certain little thing for me. I can crunch down if I really want that kind of old Bakelite radio or telephone voice thing.
I'm also quite interested in the sound set they've chosen. It's so cheesy. It's so of the period. And I'm kind of that. I'm still trying to work out if I like it or not.
I would love to have a go with one. I don't know if there'll ever be a chance
that.
of that.
Do Sonicware watch this?
I know they are familiar with the show because I tell them about it.
Send one over for us to try.
They and I have a very good relationship, and they have looked after us in the past in terms of review units and so on and so forth. But I think because there are only 500 of these, this is kind of a little bit too limited. But you never know; they might have one left over, a prototype or something. I know Chris has got one. Maybe Chris can loan it to us, and we can have a little listen and play. But anyway,
that's it.
Yeah. So if you really do like your lo-fi crunch stuff, and there's a great video there which you can just see on screen now, which is the quick start guide that Chris has put together, and he does some really good videos. Go and have a watch of that, and have a play. And if you are in America, or you can afford sales tax and import duties outside of the US, then hurry up and go and get one. I don't know how many are left. You have
500,
to go to,
I would guess.
Well, no, it doesn't say. No, sometimes they put the thing on there, but it certainly doesn't say that they've sold out. So get down to your Perfect Circuit or your Sonicware store and go and buy one of those, if that is your thing. Right, that is the Sonicware Liven Lo-Fi 6.
Do we have any news about nose? Do we have any news about any other Sonicware product?
Well, it's not really news, but if you are a Lo-Fi 12 owner, there was an update. It didn't include any of the stuff that we've just talked about, but there was a firmware update, so we might as well let people know about that. Nothing too exciting to get moist about the gusset. So version 2.1 of the Lo-Fi 12 firmware adds an S maximizer to the track effects. Sequences can now be duplicated to double the length. Moving the filter cutoff and other adjustments can be made whilst resampling. Looping of chain playback is now possible. The noise gate on the line input can be disabled, which a lot of people were asking for apparently, and several other bug fixes and improvements. It's a free update. Make sure you've got a bit of time though, because this is all done via SysX. So it's a 4,400 and something blocks. I can't remember. It takes a while.
32 kilobits a second.
Yeah, it takes a bit of time. But I had it sat here during the day, and I got it widdied up to the computer, and it worked absolutely fine and updated. And yeah, so if you are a Lo-Fi 12 user, there is new firmware to be had. And don't forget that they've also got a bunch of presets that you can download, 80 samples already in the Lo-Fi 12 format. And there were some preset drum kits available as well, so they're all available on the Sonicware website. So the sonicware.jp, or for the Europeans, sonicware.eu. So that's available now. Right,
Cool.
let's see. Let's give the iOS people in the room a little bit of a moment in the sunshine, shall we? So this is the news that Moog Music, who of course were in the news a little while back because they were bought out by InMusic, they've released something new. Well, not necessarily new, but they've released it on a new platform. And that platform is the iOS platform. And those things are the Moogafogers. So you can now have, for $9.99 a unit, the Moogafogers on iOS, either on iPhone or iPad. So if you are in the realms of iOS music making, or you use an iOS device for your music production, you can now have the Moogafogers on your iOS appliance. They are available. There's so these are the ones that are available: the low pass filter, the ring modulator, the 12-stage phaser, the analog delay, the Murph, the Freak Box, the cluster flux. Be careful how you say that one. And the saturator. You can buy them individually for $9.99, or the bundle price is US $39.99. I guess that's probably UK as well, which is effectively half price. So if you buy all 8, you get them effectively at half price. It's about $80 if you buy them all individually. So yeah, Moogafogers are now available in iOS. Good thing, bad thing? Couldn't give a monkeys.
Can you run them all in parallel, simultaneously or serially? Or is it only one at a time?
I imagine if they are... Let me just see. Are they AUM compatible? I'm sure that if you've got one of those hosts that can host multiple plugins, I'm sure you can have... I'm not really au fait with the iOS music making world anymore, because I kind of dropped out of it many years ago. Because
as a rule, you can only run one app at a time, really, can't you?
Yeah, but these can run. You can run plugins in iOS. It's AUM, I think, is the standard. So it's like Audio Unit Mobile. So you can do that. Now, Matt's asked a very good question.
It is a good question.
And I assume that you can, because most of the time, if you've got, and it doesn't have to be an M CPU, it doesn't have to be Apple Silicon. I think it's just anything that's running Mac OS 11 or 12. Yeah. No, I think it actually goes back to like Big Sur or Monterey. You can run iOS apps natively in a Mac. So I run the System 15 and the Mini Moog and the Animoog plugins, and you can actually, there is actually wrappers for them. You can actually use them like in Logic as well. So but you can't run them on a Mac.
Steve Elbows has said you can't, because the desktop ones cost a different price, so they aren't allowed.
Oh yes, of course, that makes sense.
On
yeah,
Mac.
That makes sense, because they're doing the desktop versions, which are obviously a lot more expensive than these. Yes, that would make sense. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Abley Lowe's.
Yes,
for
thank you very much indeed for that. Yeah, didn't think
knowledge.
about that one. That's But anyway, I mean, they're all at the moment they're $9.99 each. Apparently, that is a price that has 33% knocked off. So if you're into all this kind of stuff,
and how many people have used any of the Moogafogers?
What, hardware or plugins or both, or
hardware, plugins?
You
How
need
many?
hardware ones.
Have any of
Yeah.
you used either?
Personally,
Any?
no.
Yeah. I've had to repair a few.
And
I was really looking forward to the 12-stage phaser. Coming from the Tomita neck of the woods 12-stage phaser, and was really disappointed how it didn't sound like a 12-stage phaser. It sounded like a very thin 12-stage phaser, but it was still a nice phaser. It had a nice sound, but it wasn't the sound I was hoping I was going to get, that I get from my rack-mounted 12-stage original
Yeah.
Moog's 12-stage phaser. But hey, you know, yeah.
did you were you able to ascertain whether or not they the components were completely different or the same and just set up? Yeah, what was that?
Yeah, they were similar. They're just modern versions of what would have initially, modern FETs instead of the original, 70s FETs that you can't get hold of and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, it was an approximation with the technology that was available. They were cleaner, certainly, and the charm wasn't there, but that's to be expected because they were modern versions. So
I think it was the
time
it was always,
makes charm, not necessarily the hardware itself.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It was always they
They were
always
all right.
were charming. They always
Yeah.
were charming. You're right.
yeah. But they did have a habit of losing four-way switches and stuff like that. So I was doing loads of them at one point. There was just loads and loads of them coming. They must have got it sorted out somewhere at the factory, because I used to see 20 a month sort of thing constantly coming in, and then it just stopped. So they must have sorted it out. Whatever, it was always the same ICs. 4016s kept popping and stuff like that. So they clearly made an adjustment and cured the problem.
Yeah.
So the software versions. Anyone on the chat? I've not seen. I've played with some of the hardware versions, and again, I wasn't as impressed as I thought I would be. But it's
They certainly have their own
some people-
sound.
Yeah.
It's like anything. If you work with it with anything's nuance, you'll get over time. You will get the charm out of the unit that you want. But don't go into them with the expectation like I had of hoping it was going to sound like a 1971 12-stager, which was a big mistake. So.
But Wagyu's just posted, where's the phaser KSR mod to make it sound like the rack? What you mean with the?
What I'd rather do is
that
redo the rack.
Mm.
That's what I want to do. But at least on the Moog one, they did have the envelope in, so that you can use a ADSR to control the sweep of it. That's how Tomita did it, where you get these really, really long sweeps, or get them to peak at a precise moment within the piece he was doing by timing it with an envelope
Control
generator.
voltage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So instead of just like whoosh, 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 you were able to like create your own wavesman. So even the pedal version was brilliant. I don't know how they're going to do it on the iPhone, unless there's a little panel you can flip and there'll be a little ADSR there
Tempo.
for you to
It'll
play
be
with.
almost certainly be tempo related, and one beat.
Yeah, well, this is it. I mean, you could
one
have very,
bar,
very
2 bar,
long
4
attack
bar.
on the sweep going up, and have it come down quickly if you wanted. On tempo, it's going to be pretty much the same up as it is down, I would have thought. So maybe something's lost. I'd be interested to see, but yeah, we'll have to see what they're like when they come out.
Yeah.
And have a
When are
crack.
those due out? When are those due out, young Robbie?
Don't know.
Yeah.
Available in the App
In
Store.
all good app stores.
Well, in the App Store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I'm
Yeah, you
looking for
can buy them
individuality here.
individually. Buy them individually for $9.99, or the whole caboodle for $39.99. Available now. And as somebody pointed out in the chat, and I'm sorry I missed it. It's it by, of course, if you're running Logic now in an iPad, which of course you can, I'm assuming you can host these multiple iterations of these in Logic and other compatible sequences, of which I'm not very familiar because I don't do that anymore.
But only to record or to affect the track within iOS. You couldn't then move that across to Logic with those effects because it doesn't.
I would imagine you'd only get that if you owned the desktop versions of these as well.
Where do you go?
So, I'm sure the
okay.
code is pretty much, yeah.
So do it on the desktop to start with.
But there you go. If it floats you, if iOS, if making music on an iPad or an iPhone, you're brave, then there you go. You've got Moogafogers at your disposal, which is always good. You've got options. Right. Let's see let's talk about. Let's try and save some of our punters some money. First of all, let's talk about some free stuff, shall we?
Yeah. Okay. We like
Free stuff. So this company, Ohmforce, have been around for many years.
Gazillions, yeah.
Yes.
And they've done some incredibly good stuff. And some of that incredibly good stuff has now been retired. However, it's also been updated to work on modern systems. And they've retired and made legacy and therefore freely available 8 of their plugins, which include Omicide, Quad Fromage, Hematome, Mobilome, Symptome, My God, Predatome, and Boys. All of those are available now, completely free of charge. But also, do note at the top there, it says also free of support. So just be warned, these are free, as in free, and you won't get anything else. But it will... you'll get a lot of fun out of these. So Omicide is a nice distortion effect. Fromage is a filter bank. Hematome is a frequency shifter. Mobilome is a phaser. Then you've got Symptome, which is the synthesizer. My God, which is a thing.
Okay.
It is a thing.
Boys delay, and Predatome is a distortion. So lots of effects there. Now I was going to download these and install them, and I think I got the first one, distortion, and you had to go through this convoluted process. So you download the plugin, you open up the zip file, it then gives you folders for each type. So there's one for the audio unit plugin, there's one for the VST plugin, there's one for the AAX plugin, or whatever the formats were.
Yeah.
Which you then had to manually drop into.
Oh, drag and drop them. Oh.
Yeah, drag and drop. There's no installer at all. Manually drag and drop these into the file, which is not a massive thing. But when you got to do it 8 times 2 or 3, to get both of them. And then there was this like one-time key code that you're given to activate them, and a generic username that you had to use. And I've got to sit here and install 8 plugins.
Free.
Yeah,
I know.
Why do you need a key code for a free piece of stuff?
I know.
So
Okay, whatever. Yeah,
So
see how
there's
successful
that,
it is.
or the fact, the fact that probably the authorization was built into the code, and it would have taken a while to extract the authorization element.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, and I will get to do it. I will do it, but only when I've got some time. And I just didn't. I thought, I can't just go click, and let them do it. But they're free. They're absolutely free, and they do some great stuff. They did some really, really cool stuff with GeForce many years ago, and they've done some really cool stuff on their own. And they're a very, very well respected brand. And they're still, don't think that this is them going out of business and making. They're still making new stuff. What happened to their platform? They have one of these near zero latency platforms that you could work together on, or something. Was it? I can't remember what it was called now. I'm sure somebody in the chat will remind us. Yeah, Impossible. It was. Oh,
I know what you're No, I'm thinking of Rocket. I was thinking of Rocket.
No, it was after Rocket, but it was before some of the things.
I know the thing you're talking about. I can't for the life of me remember.
Yeah,
cannot remember.
Early days they worked with GeForce, and of course I think the first version of Mini Monster was a collaboration with the guys from Ohm.
But
I
they're
can't
good.
remember. Yeah,
They're
good
good
things.
things though. There's some great, there's some very good effects in there for nothing. For nothing, there's some
Yeah.
very good effects, and you got
Yeah.
to, it's a great little marketing ploy. It gets you to go onto their site, do stuff. Maybe you'll look at some of the newer stuff, and they do some really good effects and whatever. Yeah, they're good guys. Why, thank you for giving us free
Yeah.
stuff. Hurrah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, mustn't grumble.
Yeah, but we'll try.
Yeah, Ohm Studio. That's what it was. Thank you, SEO
Home
Head.
studio.
Ohm
Yeah.
Studio. Of course, it had
Yeah.
to have some. I'm working in my Ohm Studio. Yeah, that
Cruise
was.
receptor.
Oh God, then that's going back some.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that never really caught on. But anyway, we're digressing. So yeah, if you want to own any of these, they are free of charge. You just download them, install them, put in the keys and everything, and they're good to go. And apparently they have all been tweaked and updated, so they will run in present day operating systems, but there will be no longer any support for these. So once something significant changes, then these might not work afterwards. But hey, for now they're completely free.
It is.
Hurrah.
Indeed. Talking of saving people money, this one was Andrew's pick. I don't want to talk about him because I don't like him anymore. Because they did give me my cheap upgrade. But this is Steinberg, who are having a summer sale, summer deals. You can actually save 50% off of Nuendo and Nuendo Live. And a whole bunch of other things: Immerse Virtual Studio, Groove Agent, FM Lab, and Lo-Fi Tapes, Cubasis, and much more. Offer ends in a few weeks' time on September the 7th. So there's lots of savings to be had. Some some bigger than others. I was actually, I know it does sound very stereotypical, but I was thinking, when I saw FM Lab when they did the new version of Halion. I thought, because this will have been done. This will have had, some Yamaha involvement because of the connection between the two. That's down to 64 quid, which is not bad.
That's a good price.
Yeah, so there's some interesting stuff there, but not
It's
on
about
the
300 quid off the orchestral tools.
Yes, yeah, there's some good savings there. Pad shops down to. Upgrades down to 17 quid. The full version's down to 55. Again, it's Steinberg, and they're slightly confusing. Some might say, pointing at myself, misleading prices in terms of upgrade. They don't really make it very clear a lot of the time what your authorized upgrade path is, and therefore what price you can pay, which I found out to my amusement. But there you go. So if you want to say Andrew, you picked this one up. Is there anything there that you're going to be picking up at all for cheap?
Upgrading for Nuendo. I mean, it's
Okay,
it's,
yeah, is that
it's
something you
just
use?
it's so stupidly cheap, and it does everything that Cubase does. 12, and it has all the AV stuff as well.
Yes.
So all of the ADR and everything else. For me, it's the perfect blend of everything, and
Yeah.
It's always been deeply expensive, but it's great software. It works really well, and it's been thoroughly sort of vetted and tested by the post-pro world.
That's what Ty uses, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I think he does, yeah. And it's
In
it's just
conjunction with
great
his
software.
Nuage thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Nuage.
if you're new to Nuendo, it'll cost you 429 instead of 859, which is pretty good. If you want to do a competitive cross grade, which would normally cost you 644, that's down to 322, and that means you can cross grade from any of those major platforms. You've just got to provide proof of ownership of a full license of one of those.
But do you notice it doesn't have on that cross grade lift? It doesn't have Cubase. What?
Quelle surprise!
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, it's
know.
still their big seller, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And then updates from 85 quid. So if you want to go from 11 to 12 or whatever. Yeah. So pretty decent prices. But yeah, as I was tempted. I did have a look. And I thought, no, they're not doing anything. And I really, after my experience a few weeks ago, which is probably 6 of one and half dozen the other. but I just didn't like their attitude.
Well, I think generally I think it's sort of like it's customers like me where they're going, oh, you want to upgrade to 12, therefore you must be on 11. That kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
If you say, oh, I got SX or something like that, they go, oh, go away.
Yeah.
You know,
The
that
thing-
kind of thing.
What annoyed me was the advert in the email read that because I'd got a light version of Cubase, I can't remember if it was AI or Elements or whatever they called it this week, because I'd got one of those versions, I was entitled to an upgrade to the full version. And when I clicked on the link, it took me to a page and it said upgrade £129, £128, I think it was.
Yeah.
Now, the only reason I want Cubase is that every now and again I'll get a project sent to me that will be in the Cubase, and so it's really just there just in case. It's not my door of choice anymore. So I went through that process and I clicked through, and at no point, I was signed into my account, at no point did it say, by the way, Rob, your version of Cubase isn't eligible for that particular upgrade. It's this one that you want. It just let me sail through. They took my money. And then they send me the key, and I go to download it, and it says, you don't own a qualifying product. Please purchase blah, blah, blah. What?
Yeah.
Now, if you go to... Now, I will berate Native Instruments till the cows come home. But I will give them the fact that if I go to the Native Instruments website and I sign into my account and I want to go and buy something, and I think, can I do a cheeky upgrade or something? If I can't, it won't let me. Full stop. I can't do it. It says you do not own this qualifying product. Now, that's off. Or it tells me where I can get it and how much extra is going to cost me.
Yeah.
So that is fine because it just takes the ambiguity out of it all.
Yeah, but it's advertising wording, isn't it? You know.
Yes, marketing bollocks.
Marketing.
I've
I mean,
got a
this
dongle
has
for-
pro in the title, doesn't it? I mean,
I've got a Pro 24 dongle.
So I've heard.
Pro
is there a
24.
soothing balm you could put on it?
Well, what I'm wondering is, I might get in touch with them and say, I've got one of the original versions of Pro 24. Can I upgrade to Nuendo 12? What will that cost me?
Yeah.
And then when they give me the price, which will be £1 billion, I'll just say, well, you know what, I'll just sell this, and I'll make enough to buy 2 copies.
Yeah.
You
This
know?
is
I
the
have the Atari version. How much to upgrade to 12?
It is the Atari
Yeah.
version.
I
Love
jumped off the Cubase wagon at SX1. That was my last paid for upgrade. I stopped at SX1, which was early 2000s, around that time.
I think it was
And
one
I
of the
never went
worst
back.
ones as well.
Yeah, and it was, and that was one of the reasons I jumped off, because it was one of the
It
worst.
was a
So
horrible build.
many years later, and I'm talking just a few years ago, I thought, wouldn't it be fun? I've got a really old laptop that I use for dumping things in and out of the Emaxes and various other old samplers that only work, whose editors only work in Windows XP. And it's much easier to take a laptop over to the machine than it is to connect it to a virtual machine the other side of the studio.
Yeah.
So I thought, for shits and giggles, I'll put Cubase SX on. Now, of course, I've still got the very first USB-E licenser that they used after they got rid of the LPT dongles that used to put in the printer port. And, of course, that was well out of date. And I emailed Steinberg support and said, look, I've got the discs and I've got my e-licenser and all this kind of stuff, and I just want to install it on this laptop to recover some old projects and and really I was just wanting to listen to the rubbish I was making 25 years ago.
Yeah.
And they were super helpful, and they said, because we don't support SX licensing anymore within our system, but we will put this kind of dummy license onto your account so that you can then access that online and authorize your installation on this old Windows XP laptop. And they were super helpful. And I thought, wow, that's really nice.
Yeah.
And then, they go and shit on me from the upgrade path. But there you go.
Did you? I can't remember. Did you speak to them when you tried to upgrade? Did you actually get in touch with them?
I went through. Obviously, you can only do it via email these days, and so I did that, and it took them a while. And my concern was that if they turned around and said, oh yes, we'll do something for you, because it was a very time limited offer. I thought they're just waiting until that time limited offer finishes, because there was another experience I had with Cubase or Steinberg when they did, I think it was their 40th anniversary, they did like 50% off everything or more. And I was going to get Cubase then, and then I had to go on a business trip to Toronto, and I thought if I buy it in Canada, I'm probably linking myself to. Okay, probably linking myself to some sort of Canadian support thing, and then that's going to cause me. So I thought I'll wait until I get home, and of course, when I got home, by the time I got home, slept off the jet lag, and woke up the next day, the offer had finished like 24 hours before, and I emailed them and I said, "Oh, please, look, I was traveling, and could you just no, that was it. Line's done, gone. So forget about it." And that was that.
Which is a bit petty when you think about it.
It was a bit, but there you go. So
because it's not like it's each copy doesn't cost them anything anyway. So I mean, they could have gone, go on then, God's sake.
Yeah. But thankfully, it's not a showstopper that I don't have it. It's just that when certain people want to work, some of them, they use Cubase, and it's then just a pain for them to have somebody stem it all out into sort of general thing, and then I have to reassemble it in Logic or whatever. It's just easier to have that around. And
I must admit, though, they did get their shit together after SX, because it was awful. I mean, the last time I can remember the last time Cubase crashed. It was 2016, and I had done something really stupid anyway that made it fall over, and that was the last time I've ever had a lock-up or a crash or anything in Cubase.
I was using Cubase for years, and right up until, I think this latest version, or maybe the last one, Cubase has always had real problems with audio routing external audio. You're using interfaces and being able to name, it's just been a mess. It seems to have cleared up, so I'm very pleased about that. But I'm still using Cakewalk. I'm still using Harrison mix console to do mixes, because it just sounds great.
I invested in 32C, and it was stupid money. It was 70 quid or something, I think, the upgrade. And like I say, it does sound very nice. There's lots of
I must admit, like Andrew says, that the audio support on Cubase, where they have we have your system setups for USB mix, and they got the same things listed that they had
a million years ago.
When Austin Allegros was still cool.
But it seems to be improving, so we'll just let them get on with it, I suppose. There's there's a lot of competition out there now, so I think maybe they need to improve their customer service a little. But it's it's not a bad piece of software, but there's lots of software out there now.
There's lots of options, lots
and lots.
I'm falling ever so much more in love with Ableton Live. The more I use it, the more I think, do you know what? Now I'm starting to get it, and it really does work for me. So
well, having shied away from it, having used it for a while and then shied away from it because it just felt like it was forcing me down a particular path. Now we've talked about this before, but I'm looking at it now. In fact, I found a controller for it that I rather like the look of during the week. So I'm gonna play around with the idea of.
Well, I had to go with the Push 3 at Gearfest a few weeks back. Have to say, if I wasn't already back in the Ableton world, I would have jumped right in there and then, because I've got a Launchpad X, which is nice, and it's velocity sensitive. It's poly aftertouch. It feels very nice under my fingers, but that Push 3 is just next level. It's a very cool piece of gear, but it's also rather expensive. So
I'm trying to get a price from them of the latest version and see if I can't do something. But we'll see. But I think I'm going to get it as well.
And
for
by
life,
Paul, never going to happen. Okay, just won't happen.
I'll
Anyway.
never say never.
No.
Euro rack.
Honestly,
Euro-rack,
I'm not even
Euro-rack.
fighting anything. I just have no enthusiasm for it whatsoever. So I'm quite happy with that.
Yeah.
You know, I waste my money in other ways.
Mind
If
you,
only-
I must admit, I was sitting in front of the iPad going, why did I just buy that?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Yeah, but we'll see. We'll see how it gets on.
Yeah. Indeed.
It looks
Were
pretty
I a
cool.
lot younger, and did I have an awful lot of many hours each day for the next 20 years to invest in playing around with it, I'd get back into Europe. Yeah, I wish I was Ian Body. That's the truth. I want to be Ian
People
Body.
like Ian, and there are
Why are
many
you
others. Yeah.
Why are you-
Why are you Ian? People like him
Constantinople.
and Dave Bessel and a huge, and people like Andy and Grace and many others who do amazing things with Euro. I love what they do. I love watching them do it because they're clearly very into it. They're very clever. They make some great music. It's just not me. So
I think for me, it's a slight experience. It's kind of like an experience that I want to get back because I will never be able to afford the stuff I used to play with. I mean, the PPG modulars,
Oh, right. Sorry.
the EMU modular, the Moog 3Cs, the UP 2500s, you name it. And I like engaging with them. Admittedly, and this is kind of like the tiny kitten tickling version of the big girls. So when I saw that Behringer 55, I went, yeah. Because I know I can set it up and I can play it, and I'll be able to get stuff out of it immediately because I know
What's
what
that big
to do.
thing? What's that big thing? See, this is my absolute ignorance
Me?
of all things modular.
Me? I'm a
Yeah.
big thing.
That Dave Spears has got, that big brand thing. That's not a Moog, is it? Or is that a Moog? Or is that a
That looks
Macbeth
like
or
it.
Yeah,
something?
that's his
Is it 55?
55 reissue. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
he's got one of that, and I stood. This was before he had the studio. This was when the studio was at the house upstairs at the back.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was up there one day, and he's just showing me some stuff, and we mess around with the Prophet 10s, and then he said, have a listen to this, and he's called it. He's got this patch that he's wired in, and he's triggering an actual SDS5 for the drum sounds, and I'm stood there watching him, and he's so into it, and he's making some really cool sounds, and the beat's nice. And I could sit there all day and watch him do that, or I could sit there all day and watch a whole bunch of other people make some really nice sounding music with this stuff. It just doesn't. It's like I can appreciate a good garden, but I flipping hate gardening. Okay, I'll happily
But
sit in a
that
lovely
is pretty
garden.
much it. Yeah, that is exactly it. It's
I can
it's
sit in
that
the garden.
kind of.
I can appreciate the flowers and the colour and the smells. But you asked me to go and weed it or plant it or look after it. Not got the slightest bit of interest.
Thing is, Robbie, you and I both like FM as well. I like FM as well as all the other stuff. I quite like not Eurorack, but I like modular. I like modular. It's a good thing, but I've never really spent that long with it. The thing is, for me, I think a bit like yourself. I can picture when I'm looking at the DX5, I can picture what's going on. I've got like a map in my head of where everything is. So if I'm hearing something, I know what to go to, where to go to change the sound, to do whatever I want to, right? That's what modular is. It's Eurorack or otherwise. Modular is you have to have an intimate understanding of what everything does to be able to go, okay, that's making that, I want to do, and you'll know where to change stuff, right? I just don't have that anymore. I just don't have it. I used to a long time back, a bit like Kent, but I wouldn't know where to start now. I really wouldn't, which is a shame because I kind of like that way of working, but you've got to have a reason.
You see, like
to do
where Goo's saying about that thing that Ty has is literally a prop. I was talking to Tiny earlier on, and he was at Hans's place about 2 weeks ago, and he goes, I walked into the foyer, and he says, that lovely big UP 25 modular with the 3 wings? He said it's hanging on the wall in the foyer.
What?
Yeah.
That's art now.
Yeah.
It was art then, but it was usable art.
Well,
now.
he
This is
used
just
it on
visual.
Dunkirk briefly,
Oh, right.
and has now nailed it to the wall.
Nailed it to the wall.
You know, it's like, dude, it's half £500,000 worth of art modular that you've nailed to the wall. So, and the same with him. You know, he's got the money, he's got the time, but you're not.
If he's going to do that, he should have donated it to Dina. Dina would have literally bitten every arm off for that.
Yeah, you see, donate $500,000.
Well, loan. Permanent loan. There you go. It's on loan to the
Well,
Art
maybe
Foundation.
she should hit him up. He's a
We should-
reasonable guy.
we should facilitate that.
Yeah.
We should
Absolutely.
certainly facilitate.
No, I mean, I watched Benj
close personal friends.
on one of his Benj on one of his meme tune programs. He did 20-minute patching demonstration of the ARP 2500, and I was fascinated by that. How it all I'd never seen one patched before because there's not many around to go and have a look at.
Yeah.
And he did it, and it was just like, oh wow, that's really cool. And I was stopping it and looking at it. Really, I enjoyed it. I could
It's very clever the
appreciate
way
it.
it works.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
very clever.
I'd love a 2500 and a System 700. Those are the two things that I just.
Yeah,
die
see, a
to.
System 700, the sound of that is, because I think I've watched so many Alex Ball videos, and some of them have been under the covers.
And actually, even the EMU module, because I'd know how to work that. I
No, right,
understand
yeah,
how.
no.
That's
Well,
fine.
when I did Daniel Miller's System 700, I've always loved working on System 700s. I know them inside out, right? And they never cease to amaze me, the different kinds of sounds that you can get out of it every time you approach it.
Yeah.
It violently.
I
No,
just-
honestly,
I
you
just-
can
I-
get some really nice gear out of it. I tell
listen, if you're in any doubt as to how good the System 700 sounds, just go and watch one of Alex's many videos on it, or that features it. It's just an.
Or Dare.
I mean, he's a great synthesist anyway, but he really does make that thing sing, and it doesn't need a huge amount of help in that regard. But yeah, it's a very special thing. But no, I say I will happily watch Alex play with his, and I'll just
I
sit
beg your
back here and
pardon?
play with mine.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get back on track. Now,
Yeah.
I mentioned Dave Spears earlier, and I want to mention him one more time, but there is a very valid reason. So, as you may or may not know, Dave suffered a massive loss in his life some months ago, and went off everything, understandably, because unfortunately Louise, his beautiful, amazing wife, passed away, and Dave has slowly been kind of getting back into some sort of normality, I guess. We've, Kent and I have both spoken to him a few times over the recent months, and it's just wonderful. There was a picture put up on Facebook somewhere of, or no, actually it might have been on Instagram, or I don't know. Anyway, it was Dave at the desk in the studio with a couple of the other G-Force guys, and it was just that's nice to see. What Dave has done though, just this week, is he's done what he does so effing bloody well, and he's made some music, and he's released a single. It's called Happy With It All, and it's out now on his Bandcamp page, and if you haven't got that bookmarked for any particular reason, you ought to, because the album that he's got on there, Never Growing Up, is superb, and is well worth picking up. But he did this track, he recorded it in the room that used to be Louise's workroom, because she was like an interior design, did a lot of decoupage, and you walked into Dave's house and there was bits of this stuff everywhere. It looked fantastic, and so he's done this single for her, about him and her. It's a lovely piece. If you are a Prefab Sprout fan, you will get this track straight. I actually, when I first heard it, I thought, I'm sure I know this off a Prefab Sprout album. It's that good. It's just brilliant, and he pours his heart out in the lyrics. But it's a happy song. It's a positive song, and that filled me with a great sense of relief that he's working through it and he's coming up with stuff like this. And he released it on the 8th, which would have been their 25th wedding anniversary. And when I read that the first time, that was just like, that was it. Get the tissues. I'm in bits already. But please, please, please go and buy this single. It's £1. It's £1 plus your VAT. All the proceeds will go to the air ambulance service that obviously helped or tried to help at the time. It's a brilliant song. As you can see, Louise is just a stunning human being, both physically and spiritually and personality-wise. I met her a few times. She was absolutely amazing. She was funny. She was witty. I mean, she was everything you'd expect Dave's wife to be, you know, because if you know what Dave's like, you know he's a very unique individual with a great sense of humour and just a massive heart. And so please go to davespears.bandcamp.com. I'm sure that the mods have probably posted a link already. If they haven't, they will. davespears.bandcamp.com. Please add your name to that list. Go and buy that track. It's £1. You get two. You get the vocal version, the instrumental version, and the instrumental version is great to listen to because Dave is a great fucking musician. So it's always nice to hear those tunes. So please do go and buy that. And I know he probably won't be watching, but if he is, we hope to see you soon, Dave. And we send you all of our love and have been doing so ever since. So thank you. Go and buy that. Go and buy it now.
Go buy
do
it. Yeah.
So there you go. Right. Let's see. Let's have a little bit of business news, shall we? Let's do some business news. This is the news. We did speak about this a few weeks ago, but it has happened. Avid, who have been hawking themselves around various places for the last God knows how many years, have now finally been acquired by the STG Group for $1.4 billion. That's a lot of moolah. That gives each shareholder just over $27 per share, which is a 32.1% more than the closing share price in May of this year when there was media speculation about the sale. Avid, of course, is responsible for, in our world, Pro Tools, and of course they're big in the video editing world as well. This is, it's huge news, and it brings Avid back into the private sector. We don't know what's going to happen. There are rumours just today that they're looking to spin out Pro Tools, just get rid of it. And the rumour that was coming back was that maybe a fruit-based computer company based in Cupertino, California, might be a prospective buyer. That's just a rumour, but it'd be interesting to see, because if you could take Pro Tools and marry it up somehow with Logic, they've then got pretty much the pro market sewn up, I would have thought. Well, there you go. I don't use any of their stuff, even the M boxes or any of the little hardware bits, but I know a man who does, and I just wondered if you, Mr. Longhurst, had any particular views, concerns, hopes for the future when it came to this acquisition.
I think it was last week we covered it. Avid have been struggling for a while. They've found it very difficult to keep up with the competition from Adobe and from Resolve, Blackmagic, and even not particularly Final Cut anymore. That's kind of not quite managed its thing, as it were. But they've faced difficulties just trying to keep up with what everyone else is doing, and with the offerings from Blackmagic and Adobe just covering so much ground, everything from audio to After Effects or Fusion in Blackmagic, these entire packages that allow you to do so much, and the workflows, including titling and God knows what else, they just are losing ground hand over fist, and an awful lot of people are now moving to either Premiere or whatever, but generally Premiere. So they've needed to do something urgently, but they just haven't they've just not got the sales or the money, to do it in house. They need some help. They've needed some help. So I think this is actually a really good thing. I'm surprised they're spinning off Pro Tools, because Pro Tools.
Well,
is
that's a rumour.
Yeah. It together with the non-linear editor represents an ecosystem that could be really grown fast, especially we thought it was going to. Who were the other people we were looking at last week?
Francisco Partners, who own
That's it,
Native Instruments, and all that
that
stuff.
would have been a marriage made in heaven. With STG, I mean, I wonder if they're going to do if they're going to spin out Pro Tools. Did you say it's Pro Tools they're thinking of spinning out to a certain fruit?
That's what I read in some. It was either some press, some speculation. It was just a rumor. There's no official news on that. That they'd heard that maybe Pro Tools might get wrapped up and kicked out.
I can't think why. If Apple were going to do that, I would have thought that Apple's natural choice route would have been to take the non-linear editor, and because it's the one area they don't really have. They do have. They have Final Cut Pro, but it needs, it's not kept up either. So, I don't know. Something needed to change. They've been bought. Yeah. I wish them all the best. I hope that the people that are there manage to continue, and I hope that they can actually start reinvesting and doing some great things. They need to. And they've got a hell of a legacy. The whole digital era of filmmaking has had Avid at the heart of it. That's kind of gradually drifted away. Yeah. So I'm pleased they've been bought. Pleased they got some finance, because they won't disappear. Yeah. Let's see what happens.
Indeed. Some very interesting points there. Thank you for that. Kent, have you got any thoughts on this, or is this kind of
none?
Yeah. Same here, really.
Yeah.
It was worth covering, but so you spoke about it. I think it was
not
a couple
my
of weeks
area.
ago. Yeah. When this was on the cards, and now it's finally happened. It's a big money deal, and I think it'll be interesting to see how.
I hope it works out for them.
I just hope it works out for all the people that work for these companies. That's at the end of the day, they're the ones that will get shafted first. So fingers crossed they don't. And we'll see.
And also all the editors and or musicians and producers using both audio and video things.
Yeah. There's going to be some nervous people.
They've grown up with this stuff, and it's kind of it's always horrible when you lose that skill set in one area. And you either have to transfer or go, that's it, I'm giving up now.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed it will move forward and it will be a good thing.
Absolutely.
Indeed. So do you know? It's funny because I was looking at the time and I thought, we're running out of time, and we're not. We've actually got about 20, 25 minutes, but I think we can probably fill the next 20 minutes or so with this on its own. I'm going to play the promo for this, and then we'll talk about this some more. This is a new thing from Spitfire coming out next week. This is Jupiter by Trevor Horn, coming out via Spitfire Audio next Friday. It uses their solar platform, and it expands on the Spitfire Audio plug-in design that we're sort of pretty familiar with nowadays. It's 79 quid. 79 quid to sound like probably the greatest pop producer of all time, or certainly to have, maybe not sound like him, but certainly have a number of his building blocks at your very fingertips. Now, the thing was, when I first watched this and looked at the website, I'm just expecting to be hit with all of the sounds that made my teenage years so enjoyable, like, you know, all those bass sounds from Two Tribes and the big glassy stuff from Slave to the Rhythm and all of and they might be there, but they're certainly not in the trailers. Although I'm not saying the trailers sound bad, it didn't. When I see a product that says, you know, this is Trevor Horn's, you know, curated collection of some of his most exclusive samples and settings and recreations of, you know, the effects that he was using or is using. I'm expecting to hear lots of familiar stuff because that's what I'm really into. But yeah, there it is. This is, let me just bring this up onto the screen. Trademark Trevor Horn glasses, as you'll get with anything that bears his name there. Drums, effects, bass, synths, and piano. 300 presets, 208 sounds. The solar interface allows you to blend sounds. It allows you to sequence and arpeggiate sounds. Do lots of different things with the stuff. I'm not going to play any of the trailers or any of these audio examples, and we'll probably get a hit for that trailer because the last time we played a Spitfire trailer, we got hit with a copyright claim, and we managed to get out of that one. But yeah, so they have. Oh, there's the man himself. God, look at there, he's right there. It's a collection of curated synth presets straight from his archives, accompanied by sounds created by Spitfire. Effects, there's a selection of stingers, perfect for making iconic transitions. Trevor Horn's private sample archives for his drums, from vintage drum machines to tape-saturated percussion hits. A series of basses from Trevor Horn's personal collection, recorded in his studio using techniques made famous through his career. This is basically, I think in one of the videos they say, with these bass sounds, you've got Trevor Horn at your fingertips because he is a superb bass player. And then there's the Bosendorfer grand piano, which was recorded in Trevor's studio with a bright, pristine, and unmistakably pop sound. That's the interface. That's the solar interface there. So you'll see it's got the recognisable sort of two fader and this circular effects control there. And then it's kind of like a lot of these sample libraries you see nowadays. You've got an A section and a B section. You can blend between the two or just have individual sounds. And then you can mess around with each of those engines. And then there's a sort of like a mixer thing going on there. Looks very interesting. So, yeah, just lots of cool stuff. And, of course, the obligatory pictures of SARM equipment that you've got there. And, yeah, that's coming next Friday. And I'm going to step up for that, I think. There's a lot of stuff in there. Lots of sounds to mess around with. Does this interest you guys as much as it interests me?
Kenty poos.
I bought it.
You've pre-ordered, yeah?
I pre-ordered it. Of course I have.
It's worth pointing out, pre-order now for 79 quid, but if you leave it until the pre-order's over, it goes up to 99.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Weirdly, I recognised quite a lot of the sounds in the promo.
Okay.
A lot of them are the lesser used sounds, which suggests to me that they just sort of like, well, let's not use any of the big sounds in it. But I'm assuming that they are in there, which is great. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, a lot of it you might not be able to use in in everyday life because they're going to, everybody in the room's ears are going to pick up and go,
oh yeah,
that's from Slave to the Rhythm, isn't it?
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But that's fine, if it inspires you to do something or go down a particular road you wouldn't have actually gone down before, then yeah, it's worth every bleeding penny, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that within all that, although I doubt it, I think I'll have to bang it on myself, is to put a Dimension D on the end of everything and have it permanently switched on with button 2 and button 4 pressed down together. So you can get that, that signature sound that you always had on the end of the chain. The other thing that's interesting is when they were listing various bits of gear, and I'm wondering if they've modelled, or rather, they've passed the samples through the Kodak mic preamps. Because incidentally, 24 of them will cost you just short of £1.2 million. So it's not something you can just nip down the road and get from Spa and put on the end of your track. So I'm hoping that these samples give us all that, give us a lot of the whole Grace Jones propaganda, art and noise thing, because I live and breathe it. If it's not Vangelis, it's anything that Trevor Horn does. I mean, literally, if Trevor Horn pissed in a bucket, I'd buy it. Yeah. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Yeah. You know. So when you said last night on my show that this was coming up, I was like, there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pre-order, thank you.
Yeah,
Don't care how much it costs.
I was looking through the presets. They've got all the presets listed, and I'm looking at the names because over the years you get a knack of interpreting the names that they've tried to disguise certain sounds with. And there are a few there that could possibly hint at them being, some classic sounds from yesteryear. The most obvious one was in the where is it now? In the effects section, it was called the Relax Sizzle, which is that bit at the drop in Relax when it goes, and then it all comes back in. I'm assuming, because that's about the only sizzle there is. Yeah. In there. But yeah, that was the only obvious one that kind of stood out. I'm sure there are a few that I haven't seen, but it's going to be very interesting digging through that. For £79 to get, as you say, get something handed down from up on high, you're going to snap his hand off for that.
Yeah, well, it's not stuff that comes around every day of the week, is it?
No, exactly. This is the first time I think that there's ever been
it's played
a
it
Trevor
all close
Horn
to the chest.
endorsed product, which is pretty surprising when you think about it. He is considered to be one of the greatest producers of all time.
But I mean, you tend to keep your own close.
Yes.
To protect your legacy, if you like. But obviously, the time has come to start sharing stuff out. I mean, enough time has gone by. Yeah.
So Wagyu is asking, is this just a sample library of these legendary sounds, or does it do more than that? I think it does a lot more than that.
Yeah, judging by the controls that are listed underneath your usual.
These are sounds that Trevor's, they've come from Trevor's studio,
controls,
whether it's his sample libraries or whatever. But there's also stuff that Spitfire have produced to kind of blend in with this and then be used in this solar platform that allows you to combine, layer, manipulate, and do Spitfire-y things too. Because Spitfire are very good at allowing you to manipulate their stuff. So,
well, I must admit, it's one of the few things that's come out. Recently that's made me go, do you know what, I think I'll actually sit down and I'll actually write some stuff and I'll use this as a an influence or a prop or a drug, whatever, to get that going.
Yep. Mr. Longhurst, any thoughts on this?
Yes, probably different from both of you. Trevor is undeniably is the word I'm looking for, one of the finest producers of music, pop music, rock music, whatever, for the last 50 years. He's just astonishing. Many years ago, I was working in Dave Gilmour's Astoria recording studio on the Thames with a chap, and he left his Martin guitar there, his acoustic, which just has that iconic sound, Shine On You Crazy Diamond, all of that, Have a Cigar. And I picked it up and played it, because I can just about play a guitar, and I was terribly disappointed that it didn't sound like Dave Gilmour. And of course it didn't, because it was me playing it.
Exactly.
Right? And I think the thing with Trevor's sound, I was hooked on an Italian mountainside, my first ever skiing trip, when I went into a bar halfway down the slope, and on the jukebox was "I Am a Camera" from the Buggles Adventures in Modern Recording album, and I was transfixed. I must have put that on about 60 times. But again. The way he stacks and layers sounds, and then with everything else he's done, you kind of listen to it critically. Here's the thing, though: just because you've got his sounds won't make you sound like him.
No,
it won't make you write like him necessarily either. And I think his genius has always been blending the sounds for a particular end. And for me, rather than buying this sample library, for me, it's about listening to what he's done and then crafting that with the novations and the all the other things I've got. DX5, you can get that fifths slave to the rhythm thing, that and a JD800. You get it's the sound. It's the sound. The two of those together. I'm it's a great thing. I'm sure lots of people want to own it, as you two do. I'm not sure that it's going to give you what you think it is, but great. He's released something. He's released something with Spitfire. It's going to be a good interface. I just, I prefer to listen to the original in the same way as I would rather listening to Gilmour and try and copy that articulation, then create something which isn't his guitar, but it's it's that kind of thing. I'd rather recreate it and learn from the layering and do that critical listening thing. Yeah. But it's it's a good sample library. I heard some other demos, by the way, and they did sound very good. They had the iconic sounds on there. Yeah, I'm just not quite sure. I'm not quite sure why. Just because I've got his samples wouldn't make me Trevor.
Yeah,
that's
the thing with Trevor is what it's. This is my personal opinion. It's the space that he creates for everything to sit in. Yeah,
that's the mix and the production.
And exactly, and that's what Trevor. Yeah, I mean, yes, Trevor will often play bass on a number of releases but yeah, he's just got this uncanny ability. Whether it's bombastic synth pop like Frankie Goes to Hollywood, or soulful stuff like with Seal, or orchestral stuff with the Pet Shop Boys, he creates room for everything to breathe.
And he has the best filters on the planet. And I'm not talking about these, I'm talking about these.
Yeah.
Because an awful lot of time, the stuff that was created for some of the most iconic tracks, he didn't touch a keyboard or make up any sounds at all. What he did was discriminate between the different things and go, no, a lot. And then eventually, that's the bit, and then move on. He has the most discriminating hearing.
Yeah. And the fact that he was a band leader, in the 60s and the 70s, and as
60s,
as a kid, he's getting on a bit as Trev.
Well,
but yeah, he was playing in bands. He was playing in bands for big celebrities and clubs. But he understood. He learned what got people going, what didn't get people going, what pushed the buttons and what didn't. And he's brought that experience along with his musicality to everything that he's ever done. He knows that, if you drop the bass line here and you bring in the drums there and you do this, he knows that's going to get the audience going and get them excited.
That's not what's included.
And that's not what's here. No. This is one small part of something. But again, you're never going to sound just like Trevor Horn by using one of these things. But this is getting you a bunch of sounds that he will go back to, and time and again, allegedly, and say, I'm going to bring that synth sound in, that effect stinger here. I'm going to bring in that bass sound or that drum pattern, because I know that works. So you're getting, you're getting a little bit of the magic, but you're not getting all of the magic. Of course not. You have to pay lots and lots and lots of money to get that sort of magic. I would love. I mean, I spent some time in Psalm West, and it was an incredible space, because of course it doesn't exist anymore. Well, the building's there, but it's all been gutted and made into flats. and to actually be in that room, you know when they say that you can go into a room and you can hear the walls, they're telling stories. This was more of a visual thing, because I've seen so many videos and pictures, not least Band-Aid, when they did the first the first Band-Aid, and it was recorded at SARM, and you go into that room and it's instantly recognisable. But the decor in that room is very grandiose. It was a lovely sounding room as well, and just to sort of experience all of that, it was a very magical place. Sadly, obviously no longer there. And of course, it had a history before Trevor, because Chris Blackwell from Island Records owned it, and he's the one that sold it to Trevor and Jill, and that amazing tiled bathroom that they used for reverb with Bob Marley, that was that's all gone now, of course. It's just a remarkable place and a magical place. But yeah, this won't give you the magic, but it'll give you a little flavour of something. It's 79 quid.
I think one of my great regrets is never actually meeting Trevor. I met his wife Jill a couple of times. She was formidable and wonderful. I loved her.
Yeah,
she didn't put up with any shit at all. She was really, really on it, and I admired her enormously. But I never met him.
Yeah, no, I've kind of been in his presence a couple of times, at various things. But apparently when I went to SARM, I spent some time there, bought some bits of gear, and I was told the next day that about half an hour after I left, Trevor turned up, and I'm like, ah! And he was just walking around talking to people. But I did get to nosy around the blue building, which is the bit that was on where the writing rooms and the offices were. I did get a little bit of a nosy around there, and they're all very lovely people. But yeah, it's anything that he touches is it's amazing. And currently on tour with Seal in North America. I think they've finished or they started again. But yeah, he's Buggles, or the current iteration of Buggles, are supporting, and then he's playing bass and MDing the whole Seal show as well. That was another thing. I went to see the Trevor Horn Band play at Shepherd's Bush Empire, and Seal was supposed to come and do a couple of tracks with him, but he got the flu. But bless him, actually, Seal did come out onto the stage and apologised in person, a bit like this. We were really gutted, because I've never seen Seal sing live, and that's a big gap.
They go like this.
Yeah. Okay, badum-tish. You don't even get the effect.
He's not even going to push the button for that one.
Not even going to push the button for that one.
Good
You just
God.
get the badum-tish.
That's bad.
Bad.
Yeah, might give you some crickets for that one.
Oh
Yeah, that's well worth doing. Seal does have an extraordinary voice. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, indeed. So, if you want to acquire a soupçon, shall we say, of the Trevor Horn magic, it will be available from next Friday, the 18th, I believe. It's £79 if you pre-order now, $99 after that, and you'll get a little bit of the magic sprinkling. And it should be fine. Yeah, pre-order discount available until the 17th. And there's PayPal payments as well if you want to do it over monthly payments.
I do have one little story. Sorry,
go on
I do
then.
have one little.
We've got a few minutes.
Just occurred to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think Adamski comes on here from time to time, doesn't he?
Not that Adamski.
Oh,
Not
a different
the Adamski. Yeah, this is somebody else.
many years ago. I can't remember exactly why, but I ended up doing something with Adamski at his own place, and it was literally, I think, days after he'd done the Seal thing, Survive. Killer, that's it, Killer.
Yeah, it's quite the opposite of Survive.
Exactly. And I have to say, of all the things that Trevor's done, I preferred Adamski's version of Killer.
The original, yeah.
I thought it was astonishing, and I thought it was very smart of very, very smart of Seal to go with Trevor, but Adamski never gets enough praise for that. It was an astonishing thing, So yeah, big ups to him. Big ups to Trevor.
Indeed, yeah.
Trevor,
I am very frightened of the day that Trevor, stops working for whatever reason. Hopefully, that won't be for a very long time. But his touch has been in music for many years. Before Buggles and of course a long while after as well.
The thing is, you can learn that. Listen to what he does, and you can learn it. I mean, seriously, it's something I tell everyone. Listen to the people that have inspired you, but really listen. Don't just listen to them going, "Oh, they're brilliant." Listen. And
the best way to do that is find the extended versions, the instrumental versions. So you're not distracted by the lyrics or anything like that. For example, if you take Slave to the Rhythm, which I think is probably the greatest pop production of all time, and you listen to the 12-inch mix that is actually called Blooded, so it's like Slave to the Rhythm Blooded, and it's about 8.5 minutes long, and basically it's the same song, same sort of 4-minute song, butted up to each other, except one's got the vocals and one hasn't. And it's done. That makes it sound very rudimentary. It's not. It's spectacularly done, but you get a whole 3 or 4 minutes of the song without any vocals, and you stick a pair of headphones on and listen to that production, the instrumentation, the orchestration, the arrangement, all of which is not just Trevor. You and Dudley did a lot of the arrangement. Of course, Bruce Woolley as well. Was involved in that, and just listen to that, and get rid of the vocals and listen. And as you say, you can start. If you listen to it repeatedly, you can start to sort of figure out what's going on and how they achieve it.
Layers,
One of the things I've always picked up from Trevor is the way that, and this is something that David Gamson did a lot of. Instead of playing just like big chords and pads, you take those notes, and this is very I think, is it Bach did this as well, where you take the notes but you kind of move them between instruments, so you're still getting all the notes of the chord, but they're being played by different instruments, and so they sound. And there's probably technical terms for that, and musical theory is not my forte. But it's just so clever, because what it does is it doesn't mush up the mix. It just gives you this room, this air that allows everything. You're still getting the musical impact, but you're getting it in such a very well structured way. It's just utterly, God,
I wish my mum would talk to him like this. God. He was down here. What was it? I think it was a Jupiter 8. He brought it down personally. He didn't want to ship it. And I'm talking to him in the front room, and Mum comes in. She'd just come home from work from the hairdresser's, and she comes in and she goes, "You look familiar. Do I know you?" And he goes, "Oh, hello, I'm Trevor." And I said, "It's Trevor Horn." She says, "Trevor Horn." Oh, God, he never stops playing your albums. Oh, my God, it just never ends. If it's not Buggles, it's Scritti Politti. If it's not that, it's Frank Goes Olive. If it's not that, it's Propaganda and all this sort of stuff. She goes, "For Christ's sake, will you just write something new so I can hear something different for a change?" "Do you want a coffee?" And walked into the kitchen. And he looked at me. I said, "Don't worry, my mum's like that with everybody." You should have seen what she said to Vangelis. I'll never live that down.
Brilliant.
She said to Vangelis, right? She goes, "You're the reason my son's broke." Which is true, but shut up, Mum. Jesus Christ. That woman. Yeah. Oh, bless her little cottons.
Anyway. So there you go. If you want to get some way close to maybe sounding a little bit like Trevor Horn, Spitfire Audio, 79 quid. It's called Jupiter. I don't get the name. That's eluded me. But yeah, it's called Jupiter. It's out next Friday, so get your pre-order in, save yourself 20 quid if you want to get it, and there you go. And that very neatly brings us to the 2-hour mark and the end of this week's show. And we've managed to get through most of it without a hurling incident, so that's good.
I know, but my knee, I tell you what, my knee, I can barely walk now.
Oh, God. It's not one thing, it's your mother, isn't it?
What, did you
Yeah.
vomit up your knee?
There's something wrong with my knee. The doctor thinks I've got arthritis in both knees. And I go, oh, leave it out. I work on my knees. It's probably that. And he goes, no, that is the reason why you have arthritis in both knees. You can't kneel anymore. I go, well, I can't work standing up.
Young people today, they won't believe it.
So it does every now and again. It catches me. Yeah, exactly. They need a recap. Yeah.
It does.
Re-kneecap.
It does.
Yeah.
It needs a
Yeah.
rebore.
And
Or Mikey just had one
re-kneecapping.
of those, I think, this last
Yeah.
week.
So yeah, I'm officially falling apart apparently.
Yeah.
There we go.
So apparently I'll go through old age in across 6 months like a dog, and then in the bin, mate. I'm done.
Nice.
Don't do that. Not least
Nice.
until
Well,
I can never play
my
that
customers
GS1.
won't let me. Yeah.
I won't let because I need to play that GS1.
Oh, funny. Yeah, that board arrived today.
Oh, wonderful. Excellent. Good stuff. Gentlemen, thank you as always for your company. Very appreciated. What have I got a star thing? Oh, yes. Kissing the Machine. Thank you. Money well spent for Kent not being in his dressing gown. Great show. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
my name's
you.
Ken,
Kissing
not
the
Ty.
Thank you.
Yeah, quite.
Yeah. He's naked under his clothes, you know that.
Yeah.
All the time.
Busy week ahead for everyone? Or not?
Yeah, I've got to continue my memory Moog build
yes.
from the base up. That's not going well.
Your memory Moog or a memory?
No. Do I look like I can afford a memory Moog?
Yeah.
Do I?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, not mine. No, not mine.
Okay.
No. But there you go. So, yeah, no, that's a complete rebuild.
Yep. Nice.
Clearly the guy's got more money than sense, but there you go.
Indeed. How about you, Andrew?
Yeah, lots of client meetings. We're getting ready to meet some clients and do some new demos. We've got a whole bunch of stuff we're just pulling together, trying to get the website done, which I've been saying since about this time last year.
Yeah.
But just
It
stuff
takes time.
keeps getting in the way. You
Yeah.
know,
Life, isn't it? It sucks, doesn't it?
it is. But no,
Telly,
we've got a lot on. We've got a lot on.
Netflix, yeah.
Booze.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually
Screwfix catalogue.
Yeah, I'm now in the process of, because it's scaring me now. It's getting close. Putting my Synthfest seminar together. Me and Manny, or Manny and I, Manny and me. I don't know. The two
Manny
of
and
us.
I think.
Yeah,
Me
the two
and
of us
Dr. Manny.
are doing this seminar where we're going to be talking about DX7 to Moog DX, basically 40 years of FM synthesis from Yamaha. And seriously, I'm not ashamed to admit this. The last few days, I've been trying to find the correct fonts for Yamaha products of the 1980s. So if you look at the the fonts on these things here. Oh my God, the amount of hours I've lost trawling around the internet, because you can't get this stuff from Yamaha Direct. I've gone to all their press sites and their media pages, and it just doesn't exist anymore, or it did. I mean, I found one document and it got all excited. It said, yes, go to our media pages here, and we'll give, the fonts are available there, and that page no longer exists.
Have you used do you have Adobe? Any Adobe licenses?
Yeah,
I
font
do.
grabber.
That was that's what I'm going to be doing this weekend, is going through Adobe fonts.
Yeah.
No, they have a font. They have a way they will recognise a font as a graphic.
Well,
if you've got it as a graphic, they'll recognise it.
Yeah, I've been using some of those and been getting very close, but I'm so anal when it comes to this, and I'm looking through and thinking, yeah, the A
Not
and
that kind
the
of
M, the A and the M look absolutely bob on, but that H is different, or that Y is different, or whatever. So I've been doing that, and I've been mocking up, I've been scanning all these old documents and disk drive labels, because this pack, which is going to form at least half of the seminar, doesn't actually belong to me. So I'm trying to kind of archive it and keep it alive, because I've never seen another one in the world, and nobody else seems to have seen one anywhere ever. So
God. So you might have to actually scan it and use it in the document as a sort of like a graphic input.
I'm going to have
into
to
the document.
I'm trying. Yeah, if I can't find the fonts, I'm going to have to scan them and then just build them from there. But it's just I sit here and I go, it's just like that rabbit hole, and you just start going down and down and down, and like 3 hours later, you think, Jesus, where did that time go? And I still haven't got what I wanted. So, but it's,
Do you know what?
I enjoy it in a way.
One thing you could try is bang it up on Fiverr. That terrible site Fiverr. Bang it up on Fiverr and say, I'll give 20 quid to whoever can come up with this font, create the font set for me, or find the font set and get it to me, and it needs to replicate this. You'll probably get it done in a day.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, it might be worth doing that. The other thing, this is the other thing. So you see this package here is an old 5 1/4 inch disc wallet, and it was kind of a soft plastic back in 1984. It's kind of gone a bit brittle now. I spent like a day and a half trying to find an empty case that I could replace. I actually found one this morning.
Hey, well done.
And it's got the insert, so I can actually put the insert in and recreate all of that. So, yeah, trying to find 5 1/4 inch floppy disk boxes.
Here's the thing, I do lots of video as well as all the other stuff and documentation and stuff. Do you know what? I am absolutely terrible with fonts. I'm like you. I've actually got to the point now where if someone wants a font, or if I'm trying to find a particular font for a video, I will look for 20 seconds. If I don't find it, then I'll go away and come back at it and just go, yeah, that'll do. Or get the spec from the client and use theirs, because I look at them, I go blind to them within less than 30 seconds. I just look at them going, they all look like fonts to me. Yeah, those are letters. Yeah. I couldn't tell you what. I'm useless at it. So don't give it to me to do.
No, I won't. Don't worry.
No.
So that'll be my weekend, and probably next week, and probably everything up until about October the 7th when we do the thing. And the thing is, I'll put all of that effort into getting the fonts right, and I'll throw it up onto screen. I'll be on screen. Each slide will be on the screen for a few minutes, just to sort of support what we're doing on stage. And nobody in the audience will give a monkey's left nipple or the hair upon it that I've gone to all of that effort, but I will know.
Yeah, but you will. Yeah. That's the thing. Yeah.
Personal pride.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it took me. I did the same thing with Fairlight, getting all of the Fairlight fonts, and actually that wasn't as difficult as this one. It doesn't help that Yamaha use 2 different fonts, although they're virtually identical, and the biggest difference is you see the middle leg of the M.
Yeah.
It doesn't go all the way down to the bottom.
Correct.
That's Yamaha Corporation. If you go Yamaha Motors, which of course is an extensive side of their business, their M goes all the way down.
Yeah.
All the way down.
All the way down. And then the tuning forks on the motoring version, they don't go to the edges, but on the Corporation ones they do. Or it might be the opposite way around. It's just tiny little things, and of course that really gets me. Yeah.
Use Helvetica. No one's gonna know.
It's actually Helvetica
Comic
Condensed. Helvetica Condensed actually is fairly close.
Yeah.
Comic Sans, yeah.
Doing Comic Sans with
Do it
little
with
guys
a
in the
PowerPoint.
corner.
Comic Sans in PowerPoint.
Bennett. God dear me. I should have learned how to make fonts, and then I could have just done it all myself.
Yeah.
But
I know how to make them, but I'd be doing them and just go, I don't know. And it would all look like someone's come on with a
it's
crayon.
a massive
at some
thing.
point.
I never realised how big the world of fonts is. It's just
massive.
and they're not cheap.
And when
Anyway.
you see someone that knows them, you just look at it and you go, "Oh, that's brilliant! Where did you get that?" And then you find out they've just stretched it a little bit and stuff like that.
And this
Make 'em in
NEUE
lightweight.
or NEUE, because every time they reinvent, like Helvetica's it's called Helvetica now, and that's the modern version. And there's old of it. Oh Jesus!
Welcome
it's a
to the
rabbit hole.
Pro Font Network.
I know. Yes. Anyway, thank you ever so much for your company, as always. We'll be back same time, same place next week. Hopefully Ben will be back with us as well. Hope that if you're watching, I hope you're feeling okay. Kent, thank you ever so much for turning up. You didn't have to, but we're very glad that you did.
No.
And I guess it all depends whether you're feeling better if you do a pub tomorrow night.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
There you go.
It comes in waves. What's that from?
Oh
But yeah, it's I don't know from 1 minute to the next. So
Yeah. Anyway, gentlemen, thank you to our lovely audience. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for watching on Catch Up if you're watching on Catch Up. And thank you to everyone that's made a donation. It's not obligatory, but we absolutely love that you do. So thank you very much indeed for that. And we will be back same time, same place next week with more music, technology, news and discussion, and then maybe a little bit more font talk as well. We'll see you next Friday. Yay! Take care, everyone. See you soon.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
take care, everybody.
Fonts.
Bye bye.